God of War as a franchise is probably my most favorite of all time. Kratos is by far my most favorite character. Just the lore of how he became the God of War and where he came from, the things that the gods did to him in order to make him who he is, leading up all the way to the events of God of War Ragnarok. There is not anything that isn't to love about this game. Like, if you like mythology and you genuinely care about just adding just a slight fable to mythology, which mythology in itself is already that, but adding just a slight twist with Kratos, it truly brings together the potential of that franchise. Let's start with the thing that makes every God of War game. God of War will not be what it is without the combat. And I have to admit that leading into God of War 2018, I wasn't sure how I would feel about the combat, because I had heard that the combat wasn't going to use Kratos' blades. To be honest, the hack and slash style of that is what made God of War, in my opinion. So as you would imagine, later in the game when you actually are able to get your blades, and I'm sorry if that's spoilers for you, but if you're watching a review of Ragnarok, I don't know why you're doing that, because you pretty much start with the blades from the start. Ragnarok takes everything that made God of War 28 combat good and makes it even better. The runics that you're able to use in Ragnarok, they severely outclass any runics that you could have used in 2018. Kratos' blades, coupled with his axe, already adds a variety of combat from the beginning, that if you wanted to use close range combat with an axe, you can. If you want to use long range combat with the axe, you can. And just going the old school God of War hack and slash style, it truly adds what everything that was lacking in the combat in God of War 2018 to this game. And that's saying a lot, because not much was lacking in the 2018 combat. Just flat out the armor sets, in my opinion, helping with your combat playstyle in God of War Ragnarok, does everything that God of War 2018 didn't do, and it truly makes combat more fun knowing that your armor set really do help you compared to 2018. Being able to start with the blades, it truly feels like an old school God of War game if you want to, but being able to use the axe from the start, it also gives you the new school playstyle. What I find most unique about the story in Ragnarok is that we really didn't know why or what Odin wanted with us, you know? In old school God of War, you knew exactly why Zeus wanted Kratos dead, and we knew why Kratos wanted Zeus dead, specifically Ares, but eventually all of the gods was dragged into that event. Fast forward to Ragnarok or God of War 2018, and other than knowing that Baldur wants Kratos dead, we really don't know anything about Odin or even Thor himself. Playing Ragnarok and just going through the story and seeing exactly what Odin wants and why he's doing what he's doing, that adds a depth to the story that I truly don't think any previous God of War had. But in Ragnarok, it just adds a mystery to it that truly wants you to keep playing. You get to have the people around you from the start. I'm talking Brock and Sindri and Mimir. Just having them there from the start of the game, it adds a different dynamic to the game. In 2018, all you had was Atreus, and Atreus himself wasn't cool, you know? But just having everybody there from the start, being able to experience this as a group, feels like you're going on a real adventure and you're trying to save the world because your friends are specifically right there with you. One of the benefits that God of War has is the semi-open world aspect to it. But what makes the semi-open world games fun is that they can guide you onto a path that allows you to find side quests while still maintaining your search in the main story, and God of War Ragnarok is no exception to that. A lot of times in the worlds that you're in, you will naturally find side quests that you can do, and a lot of them, the side quests in this game aren't as thought out as a game like Horizon, to where it truly feels like it could be a mini DLC type thing, because the side quests in God of War Ragnarok are more about the open world itself versus characters of any sort. But with that being said, that's also where it shines the most, because as you're just naturally playing, you're going to find and complete them without going out of your way, except for a few collection quests. But even then, the collection quest, there's only 9 worlds, and I think majority of them only have you finding things specifically in those 9 areas. So it's not super grindy, and it benefits the story in a whole lot just because it brings character development together. When you're finding things like flowers and you have that small dialogue with the character you're with, it really makes it feel like a group thing. And I don't know, it's just something about it is very rewarding. If in 2018 you played God of War and you felt like the enemy variety was lacking, then you're in luck, because in God of War Ragnarok, what makes this world so much better is that in every environment you can kind of count on to fight different enemies. From the start of the game, you're fighting unique enemies, and from the end of the game, you're fighting enemies that have unique abilities as well. Every area you go to, it's going to be something different. And that's what makes this so much better than the last game, is that when you go into a new area, you know that you're going to find something new. God of War Ragnarok took everything about the environments and the open world with 2018, and it just added such a variety to it that, you know, is there a boss here? Is there a boss there? Can I do this? I really anticipated finding every new world in God of War Ragnarok, just because I was excited about the potential of finding something new. Now we're going to talk about the thing I dislike the most about God of War Ragnarok, and that's the Berserker gravestones. The majority of people complained about the Valkyries in 2018. They didn't like them. Like, for me, the difficulty spike, specifically Sigrun, the other Valkyries, like, no joke, I probably didn't die any more than 2 or 3 times max on any of the other Valkyries except for Sigrun. But Sigrun herself was a nightmare, and they pretty much transcribed that boss fight for boss fight, just with a different skin, to God of War Ragnarok. I'll be fair and say that a lot of the tombstones, they aren't that hard. They are manageable except for a handful of them. The overall aspect of this game is that they amped up the difficulty in pretty much every way you could imagine. Enemies feel like they do more attacks. Some enemies specifically, you'll have better luck fighting a Dark Souls boss and taking less damage than you would some enemies in God of War Ragnarok. And that's saying a lot. You have to definitely utilize your defenses in this game. Luckily, the combat helps you along the way. The shields, they're better. The abilities you have are better. You can control entire areas with some of the runic attacks, but it's still just the in-game bosses themselves. You'll go into a location and you can do everything, but with the Berserker gravestones, you're like 2 levels under, and it's the only thing you're under leveled for. I just felt like with the in-game bosses, they should have specifically made them more catered to the areas. Make them be on level, or even let you be over leveled. Instead, you'll stumble upon them and you'll be under leveled and you can't do them. And then by the time you get ready to come back to those to fight, you're now green barred with them. One of the things that I truly didn't understand with people who were complaining about God of War Ragnarok is that they were saying it was the equivalent to God of War 2018. They were saying that like it was some type of bad thing. And the problem with that is that they're kind of wrong. It is like 2018, but it's like if you took God of War 2018 and added steroids to it, you would get God of War Ragnarok, and it makes it better in every single way. So yes, it is like God of War 2018, but that's not a problem, because God of War 2018 was amazing, and God of War Ragnarok is even better than amazing. It is one of the games where I really feel like 100% confident giving it a 10 out of 10, just because I could replay that game over and over and over, and it would truly feel like a new experience every single time. So I definitely give God of War Ragnarok a 10 out of 10, and if you have not played this game, you definitely should.